and does a great job. Neighborhood Watch, he heads that up, does a tremendous job. It's a reason why our HOA monthly is where it is. It's not really high because he keeps it clean. He walks his little dog like 10 times a day. How is the dog doing?
The dog's doing great, but I haven't seen you in the neighborhood, Rock.
Well, I got kicked out of my house last week.
And who was that?
That was my sister, her husband, their friends from Charlotte. So they came in for the open. So
I almost called the police. But then I saw the Ohio sticker. On the bumper sticker.
Driving my dad's car. Yep, my dad went to Ohio U as well. So yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I put the phone down. I was peeking in the windows, make sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Kravitz is alive and well.
Oh, it's totally in your neighborhood. Oh, yes, it's good. We need that though.
I knew.
We need that. Every neighborhood has that.
Mrs. Kravitz. Right. Yeah, we do. We got one.
All right, this Yotes team really struggling. I've lost 7 straight. Can go at it again tonight. Playoffs. I mean, it's just, how do I say this? Coach, it's frustrating because we were all in the beginning. They came out of the gate really strong, and I think this just kind of popped the balloon. And now we're like, all right, let's look ahead to the March 8th trade deadline and talk about the arena again. It was fun to just talk about this team rather than the future. And what can you do to get us to not, fall off the cliff here?
Talk us off the ledge.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing is you're right. Through January, this team was in a playoff spot, much better than we anticipated, for much longer than we anticipated. The problem is they just couldn't sustain it, whether it was injuries or goaltending or defending, or honestly, they just didn't have the roster to compete at this high level that the game picks up as the season progresses. The good news is they play better for longer than we planned. And it's a big step in the process of the rebuild. So I think there are positives to draw. They scored more goals than they did a year ago. They gave up fewer goals than they did a year ago. So there are a lot of positives. The problem is the expectations got set fairly high, and they've come crashing and burning. Like losing 7 straight, they went from maybe having a chance to the playoffs to it's time to start looking at draft picks now.
Steve, the 7 in a row, but they've lost 9 out of the last 11. So you look at that stretch, you just go, okay, where did the wheels fall off, or where did this machine or this car gear down, and why did it gear down, or why did the wheels fell off?
And this is going to sound like an excuse, but there's a lot to be said about the timing of all of the noise regarding the new arena and the move to potentially to Salt Lake City, and the press release by the Smith Group out of Salt Lake City saying, hey, we're ready for a team. Since that point, that was the 24th. They have lost all 7 games since then, and they've given up twice as many goals, scored half as many they were scoring before. There is a black cloud around this team right now, and it started with the relocation rumors because they've been there before. It never goes away, and I don't know if they have the group inside the locker room, because this year there is no Shane Doan in the room. There is no, real, there isn't that leader that can go, hey guys, we've been here before. We've done this before. We can get through this. And I really think some of those rumors creeping in really did affect their play on the ice. And now they're having a hard time coming out of it.
All right, Steve, this might be a little bit of an oxymoron here. Where is the progress in losing 9 out of 11? Where's the silver lining, if any, in this cloud that's happening for the team, or the average, the layman type hockey fans not seeing? Maybe, the true fans seeing, but is there progress with the young guys one way or the other?
There is. And here's one of the things that made the decision for Bill Armstrong into the trade deadline much easier. They're selling. They're selling assets that they can to start building up for the June draft. There is zero question about that. So that makes that part easier. But secondly, now, this is, again, we're talking about this rebuild process, and you look at players like Cooley and Gunther, and they're going to get more ice time down the stretch. And I think that's really important. You look on the back end with Mosier and Jersey, they're going to get bigger roles. I think it's going to give younger players a bigger opportunity to play more meaningful minutes into the spring. And let's face it, this team was not built for the playoffs coming into this season. It was just another step in the process. It was progressing, being better than they were a year ago, and they accomplished that. This team has several draft picks. Their pipeline is starting to get full, and it's going in the right direction. I know it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
The last thing this team needs now is they need an arena.
Okay, you got 13 picks right now, I think I saw, for 2024. You have 15 players that'll have their contracts come up this summer. How do you keep the nucleus, these young guys, together, this foundation, this core that they've desperately tried to put together the last few years?
Yeah, here's a concern. And the draft picks over the first 3 rounds over the next 3 years are abundant. And Bill Armstrong's done a good job pulling that together. But now you have, of all of your defensive core next year, every defenseman, there isn't one signed for next season. That's a concern. And I know they really want to get J.J. Mosier and Sean Dursey, 2 of their young players, locked up. They'd like to get Michael Kessering locked up. And those guys are RFAs, so I think they will get that done. But you're right. The difficulty is going to keep these guys, and the issue is going to be when all of their contracts come due in a few years, will they have the money to keep these young guys here over the long term? But you're right. Players like Keller's locked up. Keller's going to be here. Lawson Krause is locked up. Matthias Michelli, who was 4th in rookie voting a year ago, he's locked up. So they do have some of those core pieces that you want to see going forward. But at the back end, they've got a lot of work to do to get some defensemen back here next season.
All right, Steve, it's almost like Groundhog Day all over and over, right? I mean, it seems like we had this conversation with you about the same time last year. And as a Coyote fan, the diehard Coyote fan hears this, they're going, well, here we go again. How many Groundhog Days can we have year after year after year before we see
3
somebody wake up and go, all right, now I'm moving on from that day?
Yeah, I do believe this is different, and I'll tell you why. Because one of the things that this ownership and management group has, they really put a focus on scout and development in the future. And I think this team has gone through rebuild before.
All right, we're having trouble with him. Let's try to get him back real quick. I know we only have a few minutes, but if we can get Coach back, unfortunately.
But, it seems like, Rock, we hear that. I understand where he's going, and you keep your core nucleus. And if you're going to keep the core nucleus more so, is the money going to be there? Is the cash going to be there to keep them? Young guys, they come in, they rotate. And you're right. We were all excited. They were in the last playoff spot. But then the roof came in, losing 9 out of 11, the last 7 in a row. And then, here you are. Here we go again. And, whether they get the arena or not, it's here we go again. And then here, February 17th next year, at this time, do we hear the same thing? They make a run, but they fall off. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead and finish your thought in reference to my Groundhog Day comment.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And I think what you saw last year is they had all these dead contracts of veterans that they just wanted to acquire assets. This year, you got veterans that could help them perform better, like Kerfoot and Zucker. I think next year you'll see even less of that because the core is expanding and getting better and growing. I really believe they're on the right path. And believe me, I've been with this organization and around it for 25 years, and this is the first time that I really believe in the future that they're doing it the right way through the draft, through the development, and trying to get young players through the system instead of just buying free agents. So I really believe it's on track.
All right. Give us an update on the potential new arena.
Again?
Please.
Again?
Yes.
This isn't built yet?
No,
really?
We thought you're the know-all be-all. You've been down there at City Council, right? Checking it all out. No, see, this is state land in the city of Scottsdale.
It's Phoenix. It's
Phoenix.
Scottsdale on the northwest corner of 101 in Scottsdale. For Rock and I, that's very good news. We can take our tandem bike down Scottsdale Road and don't even have to use his electric car. So when the battery doesn't work, we're all good. But you know what? There's 2 key dates to look for. March 14th, it is on the Arizona State Land Board agenda right now to discuss this piece of land and rumored to be followed by an auction in the middle of June.
Sorry, boys.
All right, we got to unload them. Unfortunately,
you got good Verizon in that neighborhood over there, Rock?
I don't have any trouble.
Yeah.
He's probably walking the dog.
So March 14th, as you heard him fade out, looks like it's a date. Now, folks, just so you know, if they decide to make a bid on this property, it is a state land trust piece of property. What that does, it triggers for anybody to come and bid on the property. They'll have a submit a bid in writing, and then they'll go ahead and have what they call an auction or land auction for this piece of property. Now, I don't know how many acres of this. It's a state land piece in the city of Phoenix. So what happens is it triggers, if anybody else is interested in this property, they will also have a chance to come bid on the property. And let's say if the Coyotes come in there and they bid, let's say $10 million, and Joe Schmo developer comes in and bids $10,500,000. I mean, it could get into a bidding scenario. And then at some point, they'll go, okay, give us your best bid. We know who you are, Mr. Developer. We know who you are, Arizona Coyotes. Then they're going to say, okay, here's our drop dead date, April 15th, for example, tax day. We need your best final offer for you, 2, 3, or it might just be the Coyotes. But the best final bid offer will be at that point, which will trigger anybody else that's interested in this property. So I just wanted to put that misnomer out there for folks. Well, if they can get the property from the state, yeah, they can, but it kind of triggers any of the other developers that want that piece of property to now they got to make up their mind whether they want to go develop on that piece as well.
All right, coming up, football at 50. As we're going to have some fun. Which NFL